Yeah, we're very excited to get going. It's going to be a challenging season. I know that because of what we accomplished last year, and we're really working through what we think those challenges might be. But we got a very strong team in all phases, and ready to represent Oklahoma the way we always do, and play hard. So we're ready to go. We're working, putting on the finishing touches right now before we start the season.
Patty, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you just what are some of those past big attributes you've seen from your national championships teams as they prepare for the next season? And are you seeing some of that within the team that you have now?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think different teams approach it differently. And that is, once you win it, you have maybe two choices of thought. Like, I won it, I got it, it'll never go away, I'll have it forever, and I'm good. Or, that tasted so well, that was so, such a wow factor in my world, it makes me hungry for more. Like, the taste of winning it, the being called the best, is something that is almost like a drug, that you just want more. You want more, you want more. So it's, some players feel one way, some players feel the other, and that gets a little concerning. The whole goal here, from my side, and I'm thinking, what would I feel like if a coach is telling me this and I'm an athlete? If my coach told me, you could be the greatest softball team of all time, that would make me want to play hard. That would get me fired up. Every player's different. So I think I'm anxious to see what this looks like when we put it out there, because then I can really decipher where we're at. But right now we're grinding. We're working really hard to get prepared for the start.
We still have one more question, if you don't mind. You know, the state of Oklahoma now has two elite college softball programs, and both are ranked in the top 5. When you look back, who are some of the few pioneers of college softball in our state that really helped set the foundation for what we're seeing today?
In our state?
In our state.
Okay. Yeah, okay, well, Sandy Fisher, without question. Sandy Fisher was a coach that, when I was first at OU, pushed me very hard. I think Marita Hines, really working to create a stadium for us, and you know, getting me here to Oklahoma, she was a large part of that as well. So I think of more of some of these older, competition-wise, Sandy Fisher always pushed me to become a better coach. Marita always pushed me to be a better coach. But she also taught me about hard work. That woman worked harder than anyone I had ever seen, and I really respected that. And she just was really proud, and still is very proud of this program and the heights that it has gone. But she was at the bottom of it with me when it started, and is still with us now. Although she's not here in Oklahoma, she's still a big part of what we're doing.
Hey, thanks for your time today. Have a
Yeah,
good week.
thank you.
Hey, Patty, thanks for taking some time with us. How unique is it when you talk about just losing 3 really major contributors, but being able to almost find, not like-for-like replacements, but you talk about transfer portal with Alyssa and Hope coming in and Jordyn coming in. How unique is that to only lose 3 players and be able to try to replace those almost immediately coming off a national championship?
It might be unique, but it's extremely important, and we knew that. We knew that pitching was something that we had to have. With such a loaded team of hitters and great defenders and great athletes, you need to have a pitching staff that can sustain, that can hold the fort down if your offense isn't going, or an offense that can help a pitching staff. I like what we have on the mound right now, and I think the nation will really get to know Jordyn Ball. That name will be a name that they're familiar with, and you'll really enjoy her style. She's very competitive, and it's really very engaging. It's like you can get lost in watching her pitch at times. She's very calculated, very smart for a freshman. And then you bring in Hope from North Texas, who was kind of their lead pitcher and is here working under Coach Rocha and really getting better, throwing harder, and learning so much about the game. And I think Nicole May, what she experienced last year, most of it good, some of it not so good, but the not so good experiences is what has changed her. And I think she is going to be a powerhouse here as well. So Macy McAdoo's throwing much better. I'm really excited about this pitching staff, and that to me is going to be a key to this team, as it was last year. So transfer portal Alyssa Brito adds some experience and some depth to the infield. So the portal has been good to many teams. We don't try to live off of it. We try to supplement what we have, and I think we've done a good job of that.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey Patty, thanks for doing this. Last year you just mentioned before the season how powerful your offensive lineup could be. Going into this year with having pretty much everyone back, how has that looked through the fall against that that competition you have obviously going on with your pitchers, but how have those how's your offense come along this through the off season?
They have faced some tougher pitching this fall than they did last fall. And last fall, it is complete turnaround. So last fall, this offense was demoralizing, literally demoralizing our pitching staff. This year, our pitchers are handling our hitters, and that's good news for us. It's not fun for our hitters, but it should be good news for them as well, because in my mind, they're facing some of the best pitchers in the country right now, every day. So the challenges, the matchups, is something that I think we should charge attendance for, because I think people would come out to want to watch Jordyn Ball face Jocelyn Allo, and Jordyn Ball face TRA, and Hope facing some of these big hitters, as well as Nicole May. And there are some offensive and pitching battles going on here. And we really talk about iron sharpens iron. I know a lot of programs use that, but we're really seeing that. We're trying to make sure that our hitters understand that they are still good hitters, although they're not having the outcomes that they did last fall. They are still good hitters, and they're going to be even better because of what they're facing. And they're really having to think, they're having to strategize, they're having to put more into their offense than they did last fall. So we're not hitting 19 home runs in a fall contest. The scores are now like 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. So it's quite different, but it's good feeling for us as coaches, because we know we've got a very good pitching staff. And we also know that we have very good hitters, although they don't feel that maybe right now. We know that it's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Thanks so much, Patty.
Thank you.
Patty, good talking to you again. I want to ask you specifically about Jordyn Ball. You talked about her a little bit, but what have you learned about her makeup, her, as a pitcher, being around her every day that maybe you didn't as a recruit, and what have you seen from her growth-wise since she's arrived?
Yeah, that's a good question. So she comes from a family of competitors. When she came here on her recruiting trip, our team was kind of, socializing and so forth, and she's playing one-on-one basketball against her brother. And everybody's just kind of having fun, but in the corner of my eye, I'm watching what she's doing. and I saw a competitor, like I'm going to beat my brother, kind of. It was intense just watching this one-on-one so-called fun game. It was intense. And then I knew, wow, this girl's a competitor. But when I watched her, when I was recruiting her, she has a style about her that instantly a female would say, oh gosh, she's got a cocky, look how cocky she is. And you have to get used to what she's doing because you don't understand. She kind of walks, it's almost like a lion walking around the circle. And she kind of takes her time, she dangles her arm. It's very habit formed by her. But when you look at it, you're going to go, what is she doing? Then when I see it in person, I get it. I know what she's doing. It's very focused. She's very intentful. She is wanting to win, wants to win, wants to win. She's got a little tattoo that she looks down at, and you can ask her what it means. I'm not going to say anything about that, but it's just a motivating thing for her, and it just is going to tell you exactly the kind of kid she is. Bring it on, let's go. You're not going to beat me. You will not beat me attitude. And it's been a long time since I've felt an athlete live in this world and want to live in the world, but really lives in that world. She really does. So extreme competitor, doesn't like to fail. I don't know. I'm just very excited to see her start her collegiate career because I think she's going to be very special. And she's also going to swing for us. She is very strong. I've not had a freshman come in so strong and fit as Jordy. And she leads the team in a lot of categories in running, sprinting, lifting. Quite an incredible athlete.
Appreciate it, Patty. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, Patty, I wanted to ask about the redshirt seniors, Jocelyn and Janna and Lindsay. And just, I'm sure they probably have goals for themselves this season, but with how much they've accomplished in their time at OU, I was just wondering what your goals are for them this season and what you think that they can accomplish in kind of this last go around.
I talk to them a lot about how their life's going to change after they're done with Oklahoma softball. And as grinding as it is, and as much as they're like, oh, I'm so over this, it's never going to be like this again, wherever they go, whether it's Pro League or Japan, or maybe they don't play at all and they go into, you're gonna miss these moments, so enjoy these moments and relish these moments. I mean, I know Jossie's got some big dreams here still. She knows what's right in front of her. And she has been working really hard. I've been working her at first base a little bit as well, not only for us, but just to try to help her with the whole Olympic opportunity. So she's got dreams and goals that involve softball, so she is locked and loaded for this. I think a few other of our super seniors will have that opportunity. But the others they just love softball and they love this team. So Lindsay Elam's our captain. She wants to lead this team. Gianna Johns has only been here for 1 year. She wants more. Taylon Snow, same thing. She wants more. They started somewhere else and they wish they could have been here longer. So I know that they're not going to take this for granted. I know that it means something to them, and they've got some young players that are knocking on the door ready to push them out of the way, and they're fighting. They're having to fight for their spots. Nothing's given to these guys. So they're important. They're very important. Their experience is very important to this team as well.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Patty, you talked about, nice to see you again, by the way. You talked about Jocelyn and Olympic dreams and things. That's commendable of you to work her at first. I'm curious about how much you went to the trials and things, or what you can tell us about it. It's great Kinsey made it. Nobody's surprised. She's great. She's should have made it, but I thought Allo, that team needs power in the worst way. Here's Allo, going to be the greatest power hitter in college softball history. She didn't make it. The impact of Jennings and Coleman on your team last year. I'm curious, there's so much West Coast bias on that team. Your thoughts on your Sooners and how they competed and what happened at those trials with the girls?
You're leading me in a direction that I'm not sure I want to go, James, but okay.
I'm trying not to. Number one team in the program in the country. I was surprised more girls didn't make it.
Yeah, I don't even know how to answer because I don't know what they're looking for or what they need. There were a lot of players that were there that made the team that were with them last year on the Olympic team, but the next opportunity for us to play in the Olympics is 7 years from now. So that's something that I talked with Jossie, I've talked to Tiara, I've talked with Jada about as well, and Kinsey. I'm like, don't get so excited that you lose sight of this is 7 years away. So a lot of things can change by then. With them being on the team right now, I don't think it is make or break for any of them. There's still lots of opportunity for them going forward. There's a new coach involved, so it's just getting kind of a new regime in. There's new people on the selection committee. It was their first tryout since the last Olympics, so it's kind of new. There's a lot of new faces, and I told them, and I believe this, I'm like, no one can deny what they see on TV. So you just do what you do with us, the way you do it, and that's all you can do. These are things that are out of their control, and we understand at OU. They're things we can't control, whether it's umpires, decisions, weather, what have you, but we also can't control what people choose. If someone doesn't choose you, I don't know how to change that for you. So when it's human decisions, it's out of our hands. We got to go with it. But they have a lot more to prove, and they know that, and they'll do that. So I'm not concerned. James, you don't need to be concerned. We still got a lot of time to get this figured out.
All right, Patty, thank you. Have a great day.
You
Good
too.
luck out west.
Thank you.
Go, Jimmy Carlson.
Hey, Patty. I wanted to ask you two sort of vastly different question lines. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was, since the announcement about the stadium project getting the boost with the Loves donation, have you spent a different momentum even within the program with, you've got current players who, some will be probably playing there, some will not, but do you sense that affecting anything within the program?
I've already seen a big rally from our own alumni who have come forward and said, hey, we want to host our own camp, and all the proceeds from this camp with all of our alums coming together will go towards the stadium project. I feel a big rally cry, and I think the whole Loves donation just got people really excited because there were a lot of announcements coming down the pipeline, and everyone's like, yay, 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 but when is it coming? And I don't have an answer. And we can say it, we don't have the money yet. Now we have the money. Now we're ready to put a shovel in the ground here pretty quickly, and this has been the most realistic time I've ever felt like this is real. This is really going to happen. And I think the timing of it as well, you get the announcement, and then you get the announcement of us going to the SEC. All the timing lines up perfectly to what we need and when we need it. So, and I also think too, to be honest, the way we won the World Series last year with literally our back against the wall, and it being one of the best World Series ever because every single game was played. You had two teams, with us and Florida State, both losing our first games and having to go all the way through. So every game literally was played. So everyone got the most amount of softball they could ever want out of that World Series. And it was exciting and it was captivating. And that always brings momentum as well. So where our sport is going, I hope that it pays off for other programs like it's paying off for us.
Was it significant to you in any bigger way that another woman was largely behind that big donation from Love's, to have Jenny Love be the sort of the force behind that? I know it ultimately became the family, but did that mean anything additional to you just in the grand scheme of things?
100%, 100%. That's a good question, because a lot of our donations come from men, or the man leading the family. And so to have a woman kind of behind this and fighting for this, I think we had Jenny Love come talk to our team, and that's how we first got to know her. And they were asking her really good questions, but she's a woman really kind of living in a man's world, not just in the corporate world, but Love's Travel Stop is kind of a truck stop. It's a man's world there. And to have a female kind of lead us and kind of stand for us was something we had not had, something that has not happened in our program before. To really stand and say, I am going to talk with my family and make this happen for you. We've never seen it, not like this. I don't think there's any, I don't know, I would like to know what other female programs of any sport could say what I'm saying right now. So it was significant, but I also think it could be a driving force for other programs to say, look what Oklahoma did with Love's, and go out and find those programs or those corporate businesses that want their name on some softball stadiums. I know they're out there. I think the NIL is also getting people excited about softball. Our players are getting a lot of bites from people out there that want them involved in their businesses, and whether they're big or small ways, I guess it really doesn't matter. The fact that they're identifying our athletes and saying, we want TRA Jennings to represent our roofing company. I'm like, wow, okay. So it's just wildfire right now, which is wonderful to see happen for our program and for our athletes.
I was actually going to ask you about NIL, but what you just said, I think I'll shelve that for another day. It's probably a bigger conversation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Good, Joey Helmer.
Hi, Patty. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, you've always been like this in terms of scheduling, but the pandemic kind of affected things in terms of who you could play. This year, you play UCLA on the second day of the season. Obviously, in the Mary Nutter, you play Arizona and Tennessee. Just what can some of these showcase games, obviously, you know what you have as a team and winning the national championship and what you bring back, but what can these showcase games do for your team in the early portions of the season?
They always show us, that's why I try to do it early in the season. It always shows us where our weaknesses are, and it still allows me to tinker some with the lineup, whether it's the batting order or the defense or matchups with pitchers. So the first 3-4 weeks are really important for us to get prepared for conference. So I always like to put us in the fire and see what we look like in that way. So that's why I always try to schedule a tough pre-conference schedule. And this year I was able to do that. We added a game against Kentucky at Kentucky midweek, much like what we did with Georgia. I think our Georgia series, as rough as it was really a main reason why we ended up winning a national championship. We went in there without a loss. We ended up getting our first loss, and it fired up this team, kept them focused. We needed that, and I think some of this is going to be happening to us again. I told our team, we are going to lose games, and I had looks at me like, no, we're not. I'm like, well, let's hope we do, because you don't want to go into postseason without a loss. So we're going to try to win every game we can, but it's very important that we play these tough teams. We are always the team that's not afraid to, we aren't going up against a team going, I hope we don't lose. We're going in to win these games. That's what our attack is like, and that's what helps us get where we want to go.
Graham Hayes. Hi, Coach. Thanks for doing this. I wanted to ask you, there are obviously two really good shortstops in your state right now, with Grace and Kylie Naomi of Oklahoma State, neither of whom are on the watch list, sort of curiously. But I'm just curious, I know you're partial, obviously, to one of those, but from your perspective, whether it's coaching Grace or coaching against Kylie, kind of what stands out about each of them? What makes each of them special?
Well, I mean, I can speak mainly on Grace Lyons because I coach her every day. I think defensively she's the best shortstop I've ever seen with some of the plays, and I get to see her every day. But what's been a real big transformation for Grace has been her offense and what she's been doing for us offensively. Didn't have that same kind of offense at the end of the season, but she had a nagging back problem that was, but with our being able to have some depth, we're able to help her as we go through this season to keep her healthy and strong. Naomi is just an all-around great athlete. I think what really stands out to me, besides great defense, she's really become an outstanding hitter. She's tough to stop. She's really got a hunger for the game. She's a good leader for her team. She's a really extreme competitor. I've always felt that about her, but mainly felt that mostly her last season, and just the way she goes about herself, pretty calm, but just determined. And she's a spark for her team and finds ways to win games for her team. So I don't even want to try to compare them because they're quite different. And I see one, and Oklahoma State sees the other every day. But I think you're right. We've got two of the best shortstops in the country living under the same state.
Coach, always good to talk to you again. I'm always fascinated when you bring in someone like Hope and Alyssa who played elsewhere. How is that process of getting to know them as people, them getting to know you, and basically getting to kind of buy into the culture and fit in with the other players?
Yeah, I think Hope came in a little bit raw for us, and she's a super senior. She wanted to try something new. She had a great career at North Texas. They did a great job with her. Coming in here, we had to teach Hope quite a bit with Coach Rocha, and she's been learning a lot about just scouting opponents and just things like that. So I think she is becoming something a little bit different than what she's used to. The competitive level for her every day at practice. She's facing some of the best hitters in the country every day at practice. So the intensity level for her has gone through the roof. And she's still smiling, so that's a good thing. She's okay with it. Alyssa Burrito is an extreme competitor. And I think what we've had to do is kind of slow her down a little bit. She just is really active and very excitable, and with that comes maybe a little bit too much energy. So I'm trying to dial that down for her and get her to be a little bit more smooth. She has a lot of friends on this team that she grew up with. So when you see her working at shortstop, she's looking next to T.R.A. Jennings, who she worked with before. And when she's playing third, taking throws from Kenzie Hansen, who she was on the team with at the Batbuster team. So for Alyssa, it was a very comfortable space because that's what drew her to Oklahoma, really, was her friends. And her friends talking about how much they enjoy it here. That's what I think kind of happened to her. She is falling into place well, brings a depth to us because she can do so many things. Really a strong competitor and loves competition. Just trying to dial her down a bit. She's very excited to be here. I'm just trying to dial that down. But both of these athletes are going to be major role players for this team going forward.
And then real quick, last question. Do you go to a Nicole May and say, hey, I want you to be more of a leader to this staff that's new, or maybe some, experience that you've been around here? Do you talk to some of your veterans about leadership?
I've talked to Nicole May a little bit about it, but Shannon Sale is working as a graduate assistant with us, and she really has the most experience of any pitcher that we have, so we're using Shannon, but Nicole May is doing a really good job of sharing what she went through. She went through some tough times as a freshman, and she is definitely sharing those experiences, which are paying off for this group. So, yeah, I like what we have on the mound, and I like our coaching staff that's helping them as well.
Jason?
Hey Coach, thanks for doing this. I know you talked about some of the transfers. I'm kind of curious in the case of Hope Troutwhite. She entered the transfer portal whenever you guys won the World Series. What did you really see in her once she entered the portal? And now that you have her, what are some of your goals for her individually this season?
Anytime we faced Hope at North Texas, we had a hard time with her. She's got a presence on the mound. She's tall. She's strong. So if we have a hard time with you, then that means you could probably beat a lot of teams. So I felt that about her. When I did get to talk to her, I could hear the excitement in her voice just because we were talking with her. But I also know Texas is her home. Austin is her home. And so it was a tough battle. But I think she realized that there might be a little more opportunity for her at Oklahoma. And she's really learned, like I said earlier, she's learned a lot about pitching. I know now she's interested in becoming a pitching coach, and I don't think she was interested in that. So I see her really, I don't even know how we're using all of these pitchers yet, but all three of them can be starters, middle relievers, and closers. And Hope is one of those. So I know that my goal is to make her dreams come true, but I think she's already feeling her dreams come true by how much better she's getting daily.
Last one, Shannon Earhart.
Hey, Coach. So obviously there's 4 of your players named to the watch list. How do you make sure that they don't get ahead of themselves when seeing that and kind of just keep a level head?
Oops, sorry. Well, I'll just say it truthfully. If they get a big head, they will sit on the bench and watch someone play their position. And that's the truth, and they know it. So that's really, I don't have a lot to have to say about it. We don't have a place for that on this team because then it's not a team anymore if they're thinking about individual honors. So if they're good enough, it'll come their way. If they're trying hard to make that happen, it won't come their way. And many of them have experienced that. So the goal is to keep this team thriving as a team, and whatever happens, happens. But if you're trying for honors is when you don't get them. Because again, these are things we can't control. These are things that people vote on. And it shouldn't be something that they're living for. The only thing I think their minds should be focused on is this journey that we're about to take and doing it together. And hopefully we're the last team standing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Coach. Thanks, Patty.
Thank you, guys.